It's day 7 of the 31-day Safer Pilot Challenge. Today, we're going to work on our taxi skills.
Welcome to the Safer Pilot Challenge.
What's happening, MzeroA Nation? Jason here with my beautiful wife, Magda.
Hi, everybody.
Who's 7 for 7? Are you 7 for 7 on 31 Day Safer?
7 for 7.
I mean, you can, it's mandatory for
yes.
you. We are down at Leesburg Airport. We are in, I got to even look what I'm in. 432 Whiskey Bravo. You ever just fly too many airplanes? You get confused as what airplanes you're in and everything else. At little SR-20 with 35 hours on it. And still smells new, that's right. We are going to taxi around the Leesburg Airport right now. We have already grabbed information, Juliet. Hey, there's going to be a flying portion of this, and then I want to head back to the studio, so watch the entire thing. Like, subscribe here as well before we get into this, and please, 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 MzeroAtrial.com. You like this teaching style? You probably want to see more of Magda. You don't want to see more of me. Go to MzeroAtrial.com, take a free trial of the online ground school and check that out.
You have to go up on 22.
Let's give ground a call here. I'm going to cold call first. I've got my taxiway diagram out. I've also got my scratch pad out. I am ready to write down and read back is going to be the main focus here as well. Let me get a clear scratch pad. There we go.
And how much, that's a left turn here, I guess.
Yes, sir.
We have Juliet. I'll put a big J for Juliet. Leesburg ground, Cirrus 432, Whiskey Bravo.
Number 432, Whiskey Bravo, Leesburg.
At Sun Air, information Juliet, VFR South, ready to taxi.
Number 2, Whiskey Bravo, runway 22 or runway 31, your choice. Taxi via Alpha Bravo for 22 or Alpha and hold short 22. Wind 2705.
We'll take 22, and that'll be Alpha Bravo to 22, 2 Whiskey Bravo.
Thank you.
That was different. Hey, which runway do you want? Here's how you go to this one, here's how you go to that one. As if that's not confusing enough. As pilots, you got to make decisions and stick with it, right? Hey, let's pull up our plate here together and let's practice heading over to runway 22. Mine's loading. Coach Ray's going to display it perfectly on your screen with arrows and everything else here. You can see we're at Sun Air, and we're going to taxi via Alpha and Bravo over to 22. We don't have to cross any runways. We're going to go right around the tower. So we're going to go. I'm going to get a quick little brake check-in real quick. Brakes are good. And let's talk for a second. Just a bit. And one other thing, I'm going to go ahead and just zoom us in quite a bit. Maybe, Magda, you could show that on the phone real quick so everybody can see that.
You're clear for takeoff, and then
you see,
on course at your
let me wait till he's done talking just for a second here.
2705.
Magda's showing you on her phone just real quick what I did. I just, on the NXI G1000, just zoom in a bunch and get georeference. You can also georeference on your iPad, but that's the theme I want to talk about here. Georeferencing is great, but head down time is not great. I need your eyes outside. I need you looking outside and seeing, yes, this is Alpha. I have signs that say this is taxiway Alpha. I realize not every camera is capturing that, but it says Alpha this way. So I'm following Alpha down here. Now we're going to end this lesson back in the studio here with a quick runway signs and markings, and then I want to talk about something called expectation and confirmation bias. I'll give you a scenario. I always fly out of Ocala. Lately for Magda and I, it's been always out of Naples. You get to the point where
Leesburg Tower, where I heard 27 Victor Quebec. Is that
you get to the point where you just expect them to give you this. You expect them to give you runway 22. You expect them to give you runway 36. It's always taxiway Alpha. You expect something, you become almost too close to it, too familiar to it, and you make a mistake because that's the one day you get 1.8 when you're expecting 3.6. We'll talk about confirmation bias here back in the studio, but let's go ahead. Let's focus on our taxi.
270 at 5. No separation services provided.
Oh, here we say to him.
My door is locked.
Door's locked. Good. Yep. Everything is set here. We'll knock on a run up here in just a bit.
What is your direction of flight going to be?
So, taxiing should be no faster than a brisk walk. I used to have students that I would look outside and go, there's no way you can walk this fast. But taxi should be no faster than a brisk walk here. You shouldn't be showing a lot of ground speed. If you're pitot 2, if you're indicating airspeed, we have a problem on taxi. How about that as a rule here? We're looking good. So I show on my diagram and on the G1000 here, my left turn onto Bravo is coming up next. Now, who knows the buzzword? Put it in the chat here. Who knows the buzzword? What if I'm just not comfortable, I'm getting lost, I'm falling behind the airplane here on the ground? What's the one thing I can ask for here on the ground? The buzzword is progressive taxi. Never be afraid to ask for a progressive taxi. It's like ground control holding your hand through your taxi. Hey, up here, you're going to make your next left. That's going to be Bravo. And you're going to continue all the way down. At the very end, you'll see 22. There's a run-up area down there, and they're going to hold your hand through the whole process. That's called a progressive taxi. I've asked for one. Never be embarrassed or afraid to ask for a progressive taxi. I just made my left turn onto Bravo here, and everything is looking good. You know, the 31-day Safer Pilot Challenge is geared towards just this, making this year, 2023, your best flying year yet. It is my prayer and Magda's prayer and our team's prayer before every single video that we save just one life. Yeah. And you think, how can you just save a life teaching people how to taxi better, Jason? Runway incursions, taking off on the wrong runway, all sorts of things. Who would be so humble to share in the comments, in addition to checking in that you're 7 for 7? Who would be so humble to share of a time they goofed up at an airport? If you've read my new book, Aviation Mastery, and if you haven't, aviationmastery.com, you heard my story of my first controlled solo, basically, where I had to go to do my 3 takeoffs and landings, and I caused quite a runway incursion. Thankfully, didn't hurt anybody. So, anyways, MzeroA Nation, we are down here. We're at the run-up area. We have successfully completed our taxi. I'm going to go over and do the run-up, but before that, can we head to the studio just real quick? I have 2 little heartfelt points that I want to share with you there in the studio, and then we'll wrap this thing up. So let's head to the studio, and I'll see y'all back over there.
So welcome back to the studio. 2 things that I want to share with you here about bias. The first is this, it's called expectation bias. Maybe I have a strong belief or a mindset towards a particular outcome. You see, hearing what we expect to hear is frequently listed as a causal factor of pilot deviations. And by the way, those occur both on the ground or in the air. I shared in the airplane. I'm flying all the time out of Ocala and Naples lately. I might assume they're using runway 5 or runway 36, depending on the airport, and I might assume and start heading that way when they're really using 18. Or they told me to taxi a way that's contrary to what they normally say. A controller at altitude could state, climb 3,000 and expect 8,000 10 minutes after departure. The pilot does what? Climbs to 8,000. Literally an expectation bias. Or maybe a controller states to line up and wait. Expect your takeoff clearance before the next arrival, or whatever that may be. And instead of line up and wait, you may take off in error. That's what we call expectation bias. You see, I don't care how many hours you have. I need you to approach everything with these student pilot eyes. I always say I can spot a brand new, say 10-hour student pilot and a 500-hour pilot based on how they pre-flight. The 10-hour student pilot has the checklist in hand. They do everything so perfectly. Their whole pre-flight might take 30 minutes because they're so detailed. The 500-hour pilot gets out there, kicks the tire, everything looks good. They kind of move around. They sump one tank. That one's good. The other one must be good, right? That's letting complacency really sneak in there. We have to avoid bias like this, especially expectation bias. And honestly, there have been situations where I've dealt with this, and I've even responded correctly, but use, like, for example, they tell you you're clear to land 3.6, I say 3.6, and for some reason I'm lining up for a downwind for 1.8, and I go, wait a second, this is the human factors aspect of it. Like I shared with you in yesterday's video, listen, we can work to make you the next Chuck Yeager, but you got to have the decision making to back up those superior flying skills. You have to have the superior decision making process to it. So that's expectation bias. The next one is something called confirmation bias. And this one's insidious how it sneaks in there. This is the tendency to look for information that confirms your belief rather than disproves it. Well, the weather will get better. I mean, it's only green on the radar. Yeah, but it's August in Florida and it's only 1 p.m. Do you think that green is gonna magically go away? No, it's gonna become yellow and then red and then pink on the radar, isn't it? It's just going to build. I think the fog's probably gonna go away. It's 6 p.m. and the sun is setting. The fog's just going to get worse. Look back to the accident of Comair 5191. Cleared for takeoff, runway 26. They saw runway 22 and expected that to be the runway in use and lined up and used literally the wrong runway. You see, there's so many errors to that, but expectation and confirmation bias played a significant role in an accident. You have to look at the data objectively. You are the judge and the jury when it comes to your decision making. And I know I'm trying to, this is a big picture, I need to relate this all to taxiing. You can't just try to confirm what you want on your taxi or expect something on your taxi. You've got to look at everything. In the case of the Comair accident, there was no lighting. That should have been a huge red flag, but it was ignored because they didn't confirm what they were actually doing. Avoid the bias of confirmation and expectation in everything that you do. And ultimately, by doing that, you'll put just one foot in front of the other, take one step towards mastery. Gone are the days of currency, gone are the days of proficiency. I need you pursuing mastery. Hey, check in below that you're 7 for 7. Be sure to like and subscribe Facebook and YouTube. And don't forget, I mentioned it earlier, MzeroAtrial.com to see the full online ground school as well. Have a just blessed, abundant, outstanding day. And try to remove all the biases. And most importantly, remember that a good pilot is always learning. See y'all. Hey everyone, don't forget the MzeroA course prices are going up on February 1st. So head over to the MzeroA store to subscribe now and beat the increase. Existing members lock in their prices for as long as they maintain their subscription.